Check 1, 2. Right. Let me get up in here.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I've been tagged. Check 1, 2. Check. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of BobCast. With you, as always, is Bob, live in the lounge, staring at the Ouija board, episode 152. I guess today's guest, I first learned of your existence in the human race as my neighbor up the street on Taylor Road. You lived on Spring Mill Road. You were, I think, 2 years in front of me at Colonial School. About a year, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to age you a little bit.
It's okay. It's okay.
You know, I always knew of you, knew the legend of, like, you know, the parties and, like, you know, just the personality, the exuberance and stuff like that. I think we hung out maybe a handful of times, and then, you know, we hadn't seen each other in a long time. But I guess it was maybe about, like, 6 months ago I started seeing on the internet all these postings, all these things that you were saying, and, like, you know, just this motivational stuff. And, like, I'm all about motivation. I'm all about people who are trying to get the message out. I'm also all about people who are trying to do something that's different. I like when people take a stand. I like when people, like, say to themselves, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be the difference. I'm going to be the one that's going to go out there. I'm going to be the one to get people inspired, you know? And, like, it's a tough thing to do. I mean, these are the people, though, that are remembered throughout history. I mean, you can go through, you know, the blueprints. You can go through the scriptures. You can go through everything. But, you know, it's the people who get you to get up off your couch and do something who are the ones that matter. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the BobCast, Mr. Scott Aaron.
Thank you, Bob, and that's a wonderful introduction. And life comes full circle. You know,
it does.
We've known each other since I moved to Lafayette Hill, which was 33 years ago. So now, with the age of
so you're saying you're only 33 years old? You look pretty good for 33.
I'm only 33. And
right.
Things come full circle, so it's just an honor and a privilege to share the space and just get the message out.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming. Sometimes, you know, people, you know, we schedule lots of podcasts. It takes a long time to make it happen sometimes, but as long as we make it happen, that's all really counts, right?
Yeah.
First off, I mean, like, your like, you know, path that you've chosen. I mean, we could go into that history, but, like, let's start things off fresh. Let's start things off with, like, all the stuff I see online, all the postings, all the live Facebook videos and stuff like that. You're really trying to get people to, like, to escape, like, their comfort zones, right? And I find that as I'm getting older, like, you know, pushing 40, I'm trying to let go of all the things that have prohibited me before of, like, moving forward. And I think that for me, it's always been about comfort zones and being like, well, maybe I'll go back there because it was a good time then. Slowly starting to realize that all the things that were once good will never be as good as again. You got to make new things happen. So, like, what do you feel is the most important thing for people to realize when they need to get out of their comfort zones?
Such a great question, because, you know, I went to a training with a guy by the name of David T.S. Wood, and he talks about the comfort zone, and then you know, that's the place where we stay because it's known. I call it the known zone.
Known zone. I like that.
It's the same. We wake up, we're on autopilot. We brush our teeth. We take a shower. It's almost like the Groundhog Day effect, where you're just doing the same thing, and we know that the definition of, you know, insanity is doing the same thing each day, expecting something to change, and it doesn't. Yeah. And then around the known zone is the uncomfortable zone, and it's those things that you do that really kind of start pushing you forward. But the most important zone outside of that ring is the unknown zone, like not the uncomfortable zone. So there's the comfort zone, the uncomfortable zone, and then the unknown zone. Yeah. So when growth is key in anything that you do in life, and for me, you know, I can compare growth to the way that I used bodybuilding and weightlifting, because I was growing my body. And you can't go to the gym just one day and expect to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I think most people do that, right?
You know, I mean, we live in an instant gratification world. Yeah. You know, high-speed internet, fast food, instant oatmeal. Everything is like this. And I was just speaking to someone. I'm the kind of person that I want to be in the trenches. Yeah. I don't want the shortcuts. I don't want the shortest distance to the goal. I want to be on the long, arduous, monotonous journey. So I'm constantly getting pushed every day to make changes, because the way, when you get uncomfortable, when you start doing things out of the norm, everything starts to shift.
Everything, yeah.
So
for me, sometimes it's going to a different way to work. I know that sounds like, like sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not going to make the right today. I'm going to go left. You know what I mean? And then maybe it's not so much different, but it's like small things. It's also like being able to like listen to people. Like some people don't listen. And like they're so, they're so in tune to themselves, so they're not really appreciating other people's POVs. Like I try to do that more often. I try to be more mindful of what my experience is with them, because like we're all in this together. I was just saying, I recorded a podcast. That's episode 151 was with Jeremy Haynes, and we were saying like how we're we're talking about like spirituality. We're talking about all these different things. We were talking about like how like we are bacteria growth from the earth. The earth is alive, and we are these things inside of it that have spawned up. And like we tend to forget that. We tend to think that we have to have the set pattern, and we have to, like what you were saying, like be like, look, this is not my comfort zone. I can't. I don't want to go there. Yeah. I don't want to go shop there. I've never been to Target, for Christ's sake. Did they have the things on sale that Walmart do? What do I do with my life? Why do we do that to ourselves? Is what I'm thinking. Like I'm trying to pinpoint these things because I'm trying to better understand not only myself but everybody.
It's life experience. We're taught at an early age how things should be, the way that we do things. But I love the analogy that you just said about going a different way to work.
Yeah.
And I said this to someone the other day. I said, haven't you ever like driven in your car and you start thinking about something, and then like 10 minutes goes by and you're like, how did I get here? Because your mind runs on such autopilot and just without anything, it's just unconscious. You know exactly where you're going. So even going a different way where you're forced to be more present and be more open and really look where you are. Most people, I use this analogy with my clients, and I say that, when you wake up and you put that blindfold on, you're going to bump into walls, you're going to get cuts, scrapes, bruises, and after you bump into enough walls and you get hurt, what do you end up doing? You stop moving. And when you stop moving, you stop growing. So I use the analogy, take the blindfold off, turn the lights on, so you can see exactly where you want to go. No one has to settle for anything in life. In my life, I never thought at 38 that I would be divorced twice. And obviously I was blessed with a beautiful 5-year-old little boy. He's literally the best teacher I have in the world. Yeah. He's just amazing.
My son's about to be 2. It is true to be said that your kids really
teach you like how to get uncomfortable, how to have no. I mean, he broke his.
About the comfort.
He broke his arm like 4 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
And I mean, he's great, but he walked around with a broken arm for 3 days. They didn't say anything. Like
my brother did that once too.
He just adjusted. Like they figure things out, and it's like bobbing and weaving, and with life. Whatever your life is right now, and I tell people all the time, and I do that. I do self-reflection every day. I made a decision earlier this year. Every year I come to a decision, and this year I decided that I'm only going to do things that feel good. If something doesn't feel good, I'm going to not do it, and I'm going to find a way to do something else that feels good, whether it's a workout or surrounding myself with people or eating a specific food. So, if you're listening to this and you're thinking about your life and there's something that you're not happy with, whether it's your monetary level, whether it's your relationship or lack thereof, whether it's your health, your wellness, where you are in your career, it doesn't have to stay that way. There's an old analogy.
People do tend to feel as if they're stuck.
They're stuck. They pushed all their chips in. This is it. This is the best it's going to get.
I'm all in. There's no chance to rebuy in. I've got everything in there. This is it. And, and it's also like I've been like age like I'm about to be 38 too, so your age also kind of becomes like almost like this like part of you where it's like, well, I should have
it's a marker
by then. I'm almost 40 for Christ's sake. Why didn't I make it? Well, what's stopping you right now from like achieving your goals? Your goal when you were 15 or 14 or when you were 8, who cares? Why is it any different for people when they grow and they get older? Because they feel the need to conform.
Well, it's not so much a need.
Continue. Let me fix this so your viewers can look how good you look like this. Proper view.
So
this is the BobCast vision.
So,
right here.
the big thing is that it's not so much a need of having to achieve certain things.
Yeah.
Change is very scary for people.
Yeah, well, like it's terrifying.
It's the unknown, and I think what we're one of the biggest things that I changed a little over 3 years ago, I got rid of cable. I can't. I have Wi-Fi. I canceled my cable because I'm just tired of the negativity. And
there's a lot.
And if you turn on the news, that's all. It's CNN stands for constant negative news. I mean,
constant negative news.
I
you think Donald Trump would agree with you?
Yeah, I just don't want to look at it anymore.
Yeah, it is terrible.
For me, change is scary because you don't know what lies on the other side of that door. Mm-hmm. If you don't decide to change and you stay where you are, it's comfortable because you know exactly what life is going to be. And again, it's something that you said. I think everyone has a predisposed notion of where I'm supposed to be at 30, where I'm supposed to be at 35, where I'm supposed to be at 40. I'm approaching 40. I'm not married. I have a wonderful little boy. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Did I plan to go through bankruptcies? No. Mm-hmm. Did I plan to get divorced twice? No. But that's my journey. And everyone has a journey, and it's about recognizing not what's happened to you, what's happened for you. Because when you can understand exactly what's happened, and you can take those situations not as like, oh, woe is me, but what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this experience? And then apply it to my current life to make things better. Because for me, what excites me the most is I haven't even gotten started yet. People look at me now and they're like, oh my God, you're successful, you're doing this. That's great and I appreciate it, but I haven't even left the ground floor yet. That's what gets me up every morning, is that the impact and the vision and the mission that I have in life starts new and fresh every single day. That's what gets me up. And
what time do you get up in the morning?
Between 5 and 6.
Okay, cool. So I get up around the same time. I'm a huge morning person.
Yeah, huge.
I love it.
There's more to the day.
There's more to the day, but something about the beginning of the day, I find that is the most special part of the day. I love listening to music on the way to work. Sometimes I'm listening to it way too loud for some. They look over me in traffic. I'm rocking out. They're like, what's wrong with this guy? It's because I'm excited for the day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then, it's weird when you, come into contact with people who you may work with or, just what's up with this guy? Why does he have so much energy in the morning? I'm just because I feel good. You know what I mean? I get up 5:30 every day, and you know what I mean. I just
by choice.
I'm happy. Yeah. Well, my son had something to do with that. Over the time, I was starting to get more and more pushed back. I used to be able to sleep to 10, but now I think the most I could sleep into if I tried would be 7, and that's sleeping in. But I just love that aspect though of the new day, and you know what I mean. A lot of people too, they just can't get into that mindset that yesterday's gone, man. That's it. You got to start fresh. Because if you don't, what's the point of it? That shit's just gonna keep dragging you down. And most bad days you remember. You don't remember all your good days. All your bad days you can, you can pick them up in your mind and be like, oh man, that was really, that sucked.
We easily recall more of the bad things than the good things. And a dear friend of mine, someone really dear to me, sent me this email, and it was called the garbage truck effect, where there's garbage trucks around us all the time, and people are always looking to dump our garbage on someone else. And if someone dumps your garbage, if they dump their garbage on you, what do you want to do? You want to quickly dispose that garbage and dump it on someone else. So make it a mission, make it a pact to yourself to not take on other people's garbage, because it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with those people. So one of the biggest things that I changed was circle of influence, because the people that you learn and grow from shape you into where you're going. So, there was something that I heard by Robin Sharma, and he wrote two of my favorite books was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and the leader with no title. And he basically said, if you're the smartest, if you're the most successful, you need new friends. And that's not, and that's,
I love that. Yeah.
And that's not to put any of our friends down. We love them where they are, but if you want to grow, if you want to live expansively, you need to learn from people that are doing it. You need to learn from people that are making more money than you, that are having more impact than you, and you need to learn from these people on how they're doing it. You know, we're all students. We're always learning. I tell people all the time, I am a student of life. I am always looking to learn something new each day. And I saw a TED Talk 2 days ago, and the guy was talking about how to become a master at something that you do. It's the 10,000 hour habit.
Yeah.
And he was saying how, what if you don't want to learn how to be a master? You know, how many hours does it take to become just good at something? And he did some research, and you know, the learning curve when you do it, it goes like this, and then it's like and then it's a steady, arduous climb. He said it takes 20 hours.
To be good.
20 hours to be good at anything you've never done before, and he proved it. So he always wanted to play the ukulele.
Oh, that's cool. I'd like to see this.
So you can find it on, it's the 20 hours.
Yeah.
So basically, he goes, if you take 45 minutes every day for 30 days, in a month, you'll put in 20 hours of something that you've never learned to do.
I love that.
So he took out a ukulele, and he played a song for everyone. And he goes, you have to deconstruct the skill. Yeah. So you got to figure out how does it work.
Scared to death of
and you go back.
Things, yeah.
So he played the song, and he goes, I just want to let everyone know, this was officially my 20th hour.
Oh, that's great.
Of learning how to play the ukulele.
In front of everybody.
So everyone can learn something new. I mean, what you're doing now, like, I mean, if someone would have said to you 5 or 6 years ago, hey, Bob, you're going to have a podcast, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know what a podcast was. Exactly. And then if someone said to me that, you know, you wouldn't be owning gyms and you wouldn't be personal training anymore, you would do more of this other coaching type of things, I would have been like, you're crazy. Yeah. There's no way I'm not going to be personal trained. There's no way I'm not going to be owning a gym. But that was my story.
Yeah.
So everyone has the innate ability every single day to turn a page and write your life exactly the way you want it to look.
I'm a screenplay writer, and one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, I've been doing it for 7 years now with my brother and I. We've had some mild success, but somebody told me once this piece of advice that I apply towards my life as well. Writing is rewriting.
I love that.
That's it.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, you know, like when you finish a script, you're like, oh, this is it. You know, I'm in. We're making this movie, you know? You're not done. You're never done. The story is never done. You're always going to be able to go back, add little tidbits to make it work for you and for others. With your life, though, I do believe that is a factor. Is that you could rewrite it. You can do whatever, you know? Like, you could set out. Like, you were just talking about that TED Talk. I meet so many adults who know that I'm a musician who are like, man, I'd love to learn to play guitar. And it's just like, well, what the dive in?
What's stopping you?
You know? And like literally guitar.
I want to play the drums. I've always wanted to play the drums.
We got drums right over here. We can get you started right today. Okay? Like, I've had somebody recently said that to me. They were like, Bob, I'd love to. They saw a video of my son and I, like, on Instagram, like, playing drums. I'd love to play it. It's like, well, what's stopping you?
Have you ever seen Keith Weinberg and his son?
Yeah, we chat online.
It's amazing.
I like Keith Weinberg's son and my son to start a band, but we live in different cities. But I just, you know, I find that, like, with art in general, like, one of the things that I'm experiencing, too, is that I've always been an artist, but it wasn't until maybe about 3 or 4 years ago where I started to realize that I need to stop worrying about what I produce and just move on to the next project.
Yeah.
Just get it out there. As an artist, the best thing you could do is just be like, well, that's a wrap. I'm on to the next one. Lots of times people, and it's in general without art, maybe it's a project they're working on at home or it's a relationship, they tend to not be able to move away from it. They just like, oh my God, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect.
No.
Everything is imperfect. That's why the universe is set the way it is. You know what I mean? It's for you to, like you were saying, like make your story through it. Mm-hmm. I find that when I am able to produce art on a scale where I just like, that song's done, next one, you know, or write a script and like get through that real quick and then get the next idea out. It makes me so happy. It makes me feel good too. Like, well, I am producing everything I did. Whereas in my 20s and my early 30s, I was terrified of like making a mistake or like being like, I don't know if we should release this album. It may not be right. Downtown Harvest shouldn't do this now. We should do something else. Once you stop worrying about stuff and you start getting real about what your vision is, could be, you know, going to the gym, could be writing that script, and you just let go, you know? And some people are like, oh, let go to higher power. Like, great. If you got religion in your life, that works for me too.
Yeah.
But the greatest religion is right here in front of you. It's yourself. You know what I mean? And like people don't look to themselves; they look to others, and they're like, So like motivational speakers. Like I listen to Joe Rogan podcasts all the time.
Oh, he's awesome.
I find such inspiration through him. Russell Brand has become somebody that I listen to. That like he has a couple different podcasts, but like the way that he's like dishing out these like thoughts and like these patterns of like thinking that are like so out of the box, and like the one that sticks out for me the most is he said, if I said to you, Scott, tomorrow morning you're gonna wake up at 5:30 and you're gonna have the power to change the entire world. You can make everything work. The only problem is you can't sign your name at the bottom of the page. You can't take no credit for it. Would you be cool with it? And how many people do you know that are in your group would be like, I won't write my name. I will, like that's the power, like right there is just being like, like altruism, helping people, empathy, all that stuff. The power of like positive will. Like I feel as if more people did it, there would be more of a consequence for them to feel good about themselves and also the people they're around. But unfortunately, I mean, we also live in, I just read today that, like, before we started this podcast, 4 kids just died in the southwest of France. Like, there's terrible things on the news. So some people might say to you, like, Scott, well, how do I stay so positive when all this bad shit's happening around me? What do you say to that?
Well, positivity is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is a choice. For me, I tell people that I've created this nice little bubble.
Yeah.
This happiness bubble. Where I'm not immune to what's going on in the world, because even before social media, before TV, bad stuff happened.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's just more visual now because of the power.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back to when we were in college. There was no cell phones in college.
No, 9/11 wasn't played out on a cell phone.
There was not, like, literally, if you were meeting someone, you would call dorm room to dorm room, and you would meet there. That was it.
Or page.
There was no pictures, there was no video. You had disposable cameras that you wouldn't be able to see the pictures till like a year later. When
By the way, I worked at Ritz Camera. I was the one that developed them, so I was a lawyer at heart.
Right. So the other thing is that when you can live life without expectation, you live a happier life. Because I think everyone wakes up with the expectation of how my day is going to go. I'm going to do this, and this is the end result that I want to happen. Well, what if you woke up and you had no expectation for tomorrow? Where you woke up and you just went with the flow of how the day went. You would have victories all day long.
All day long.
Because every day is a new experience. Every day is a new experience, and we have the choice to either play into expectations that we have of other people, of ourselves, of our surroundings, of our job, or you could live with no expectation and find joy and enlightenment and happiness in everything, whether it's leaving an extra tip for the barista at Starbucks, or opening the door and letting a couple people through, or letting a couple people go in traffic.
Yeah.
Not being that other person that has to be somewhere. Where does everyone have to be? You have to be right here. There's a great book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And he talks about 2 wonderful things. One is he talks about most people that live in anxiety is they're living in the past. They're playing past tapes, past experiences, past situations, and it's keeping them in anxiety. Then there's the group of people that live in fear because they're fearful of the future. What if? Oh my God. What's going to happen then?
Yeah.
But you can't control what's already happened, and you can't control what's going to happen. You can only control one time, and that's right now.
Right now, yeah.
So he calls it the power of now because if you live in the past, you live in anxiety. If you live in the future, you live in fear. But if you live in the now, you live in peace. So doesn't it feel better just to live in peace?
My God, it does, yeah.
But he also talks about addiction. And I ask my clients all the time, what are the top 3 addictions you hear about? They say food, drugs, and alcohol, which they're correct. But what Eckhart says is that there's an underlying addiction that is never talked about. And he says it's the addiction to emotion. He goes, alcohol, drugs, and food are reactions to an emotional addiction. So when someone has an emotional addiction, they have an outlet. Some people turn to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Some people turn to alcohol. Some people turn to food or lack of food.
Yeah.
So if you get to the core of what is the emotional disconnect, what is the reason why you're feeling this way? Was it an event that happened to you? Was it a situation that came up? And you can address that emotion. And I like what you said about letting go. Because everyone's, how do I let go? How do I let go? How do I let go?
Yeah.
It's not about letting go of the event. Because I don't believe in, not that it's not possible, you don't want to let go of the event. You know,
you got to own it.
I mean,
it's part of you.
For me,
you are.
Well, for me, getting bullied and picked on, you know, in my childhood, you know, for, you know, my father going to prison and for the 2 divorces and the bankruptcy and everything else that had to go on, I don't want to forget those things. I want to forget and I want to let go of the emotional connection of those events. I use those events as anchors to remind me of how far I've come. So there's people out there that have maybe been through something that I've been through, or they can relate to it because we've all been through something. We've all had things that happened to us. You don't want to forget it. You want to let go of the emotional connection, and you want to use that certain story to propel you to where you want to go, because most people hold everything in. They keep everything inside and repress it and suppress it, and it then amounts to something else. But how's that really making you feel? Is it making you feel good? Do you feel happy? Do you feel motivated every morning when you get out of bed? You know, I can't. When you become grateful for the littlest things in life, like waking up and being able to see the sunrise, even though it sounds, you know, some men can relate to that, but you know, I've always been more in touch.
About the sunrise in the morning.
I've always been more in touch with the emotional side of me because it's important. It's important to embrace your masculine and your feminine because everybody has it. And the more in touch you are with your feelings, the more energy you give out and the more people are attracted to that energy. Positivity is contagious, but so is negativity.
Yes, it is.
So what would you
a disease.
What would you rather catch? Would you rather catch positivity or would you rather catch negativity?
It's so hard for people to catch the positivity. It's very easy for them to catch the negativity because I feel as if it's like a virus. It spreads and it just attacks all the cells of who you are. But the positivity thing, it's so hard for people to be good to one another. You know, I find that is one of the strangest things ever because it's like I also we talk a lot about on the podcast here about how what has technology influenced that type of behavior? Why are we now starting to like you see people on the road and they're just so pissed, like, you know, the road rage and stuff. What you said to touch upon, like, you know, doing like random acts of kindness and stuff like that. When I was a stay-at-home dad, it literally was the best like year and a half of my life because I was in the most pure form of like human existence. And it's basically is that you take care of your kids, you go out, you hunt, you gather. I mean, by hunting, I mean going to like, you know, the grocery store and bringing groceries home, but like providing for your family.
Right.
That is the most natural way of living, and that's really where we came from. Our DNA is based on these primal instincts, and the most primal thing is taking care of your family or your offspring, or you know what I mean, like the people you love. And I did that, you know, and like I was able to have such clarity where I stopped thinking like, you know, all those negative things no more. There was like a heat wave in the summertime, and like I would pick up like old people and like, where you live? I'm okay. My son's in the back seat. You want to go for a ride?
Right.
And I felt great doing that, you know? And then, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, let me give you. I'm like, no, you keep it. And, like, once I start getting more, like, altruistic and, like, you know, doing things for other people and not expecting anything in return, I started to feel really good about myself, you know? I was at a concert. I was at Arcade Fire with my cousin, and we were, like, you know, in the 4th row, and I saw this dude in front of me, and he was just, you know, he was smoking, he was drinking, he was completely wasted. It was like 4 or 5 songs in, like I slowly started seeing him like, you know, lagging and like dropping to the floor, and then all of a sudden he just, you know, conks out. He's on the floor, his girlfriend can't do anything, everyone's just standing there, and I was like, you know what? I jumped over 2 rows, got down there, knew exactly what was going on. He was Ghostface Killer, you know what I mean?
Yep.
36 chambers, he blew the cannon, it was all over. I picked him up off the ground, put him in the chair, you know, he had that, you know, that slime, that like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, I knew, I was like, dude, let's take off this hoodie, let's breathe, you know? And then he felt better, you know, and like I remember like after I did it, you know, like going back to my seat, people were looking at me like, who's this guy? Like, what is this, Jesus jumping down from, like, like the rafters or whatever? But, like, I felt good about it, and like, after that, like, I did that, like, watching the rest of the set, I felt as if, like, that was maybe supposed to happen, or, like, like, when people don't stop at accidents, and, like, like, they don't get themselves involved, like, I feel as if that is part of the problem. Like, really, the negativity spreads rampant sometimes because people are afraid to help other people, they don't stop. They don't help somebody change that flat tire that's in need, and like, or even if it's a small thing, like picking somebody up that needs a ride, or like, you know what I mean? Like when you do something for somebody else, you feel good about yourself. So like, why isn't that contagious?
It's the oxytocin release, and it's, you always want to do things without expecting anything in return. Mm-hmm. It's things that you want to be kind, you want to be giving, and I started this gratitude challenge back
I remember that.
In October. Mm-hmm. Because what I was realizing is that everyone waits for Thanksgiving to be thankful.
Why? Yeah.
like Thanksgiving, obviously the celebration of our past, but you can be thankful and grateful and appreciative every single day. You don't need a holiday. Like, even with Christmas time and Hanukkah right now, the holidays of giving. Mm-hmm. You can give all year round. You can give every day if you choose to. You don't have to wait for a holiday time. And I feel for people, because instead of the holiday time being really wonderful and great and stress-free, people are more angry and frustrated and anxious and overwhelmed now than ever. They're worrying about money more than ever. Yeah. More than ever. They stop their life. And I was talking to someone the other day, and she goes, I want to work with you, but I have to do this, that. And I said, but you have to realize you're not taking care of the most important person in this equation, and it's you. If you can't take care of yourself and love yourself and appreciate yourself and be kind to yourself, you can't love, appreciate, be kind, or take care of anyone else. Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's what I was doing. I was giving. And I was forgetting about me. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that you need to be selfish. You need to be selfless towards yourself so you can help everybody else. Becoming the best version of you innately will make everyone else better around you. Because they see, like, people will say, you look different, you seem different, your energy is different, you seem happier. Yeah. By choice. And that's, it's such a...
I've heard that a lot. Like, people are like, wow, you're really happy this morning. Like, yeah. I'm like, I'm ready. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's kick today's ass. You know what I mean?
I'll go to a coffee shop, and my drink is, I get either a coconut milk or almond milk latte with 4 shots.
Where do you like to go, first off? Because I used to be a coffee manager, so I'm all about coffee.
If I'm in, like,
you go wherever.
Rush, I'll go wherever.
Okay.
I like.
But what's your go-to? Like, you want to get the coconut, you want to get the 4 shots. Where do you
go? There's a place, and I'm drawing a blank now.
You got dad brain like me sometimes. Boom.
Yeah, It's. Either I'll go to Starbucks, or I like to support local places. There's a place in Manayunk that it'll come back to me later, but I'll order. I remember I was at Old City Coffee meeting a friend for coffee, and the barista turns around and she goes, 4 shots? Mm-hmm.
She said it to you?
Yeah, she goes, big day, huh? And I said, every day's a big day.
Wow.
And that's the thing, I live to the fullest every single day because I choose to.
That to you. 4 shots, huh?
Big day today. And so here, like, I get so...
Like, people do that a lot.
I just don't, like, for me, I was saying to a friend of mine, I just don't understand why people would choose to be negative. I don't understand why people would want to live in lack. I don't understand why people want to be negative. I don't understand why people don't want to be their best.
Exactly.
Why why do people make excuses for themselves? Yeah. Own your stuff. Mm-hmm. If there's... Everyone, like, I did a video the other day about the difference between dreams and ideas. Dreams are in your head, and it's important to dream. Ideas are when you take dreams and you put them down on paper. Because if you can visually see where you're going, if you can write down your blueprint and your map, and you actually have an address to put in your GPS, if you don't have an address for your GPS, your car's not going anywhere.
You're lost.
So if you have the address of where you want to go, the GPS will take you there. And here's how life goes. It's not a straight line. So for those that are listening and you think, there's point A and point B, sorry, it doesn't exist. There's potholes, there's bends, there's turns, there's dips, there's detours, there's road closures, but eventually you will get to where you want to be. It's just going to take time, and don't have an expectation of how long is it going to take. How many years, how many days, how many hours do I have to put in to get to where I want to be?
20 to be good, right?
Exactly. Have no expectation and just take life as it comes and enjoy the ride. That's what it's about.
It's funny, like, I've been trying to, like, preach this stuff for so long, but it's like the negativity vibe. Like, 4 shots, huh? Big day.
Yeah, big day.
Like, a lot of people like to do that. Like, I guess I hear it all the time, like, if, like, like, I'm in a conversation with somebody and I bring up something that I'm enjoying or a book I've read or, like, I really dig the new St. Vincent album, and then somebody's response is, oh, I hate that. I hate that. The conversation is now null and void. Yeah. There's nowhere to go. I've now walked into a wall. But it's also, like, it's stopping somebody from enjoying, like, I just don't get that, you know what I mean? So, like, there's some stuff, some films or some books that I don't care for, but I will never say to somebody, oh, I hate that. And I try not to actually even say the phrase, I hate that, or I hate this, or, you know what I mean? Because, like, what do you hate?
What's the point?
Like, what is hate, too? Like, what is that? Like, the way to describe something is, like, there's so many different versions of hate. And we live now in a world that is full of hate. And for Christ's sake, we all came from the same spot. You know what I mean? We may look different because of the geographical locations and what happened to, people's bodies and stuff like that. But we all came from the same, little, the same little thing, but it's just like we're so wrapped up in it. And we're so wrapped up in, like, the way that, we treat each group. And I feel as if there's not enough time to, like, think about, like, well, where did we really come from? And what is the message that has been completely lost throughout time? The message that has been lost throughout time is that, we are comfortable in our corners. I'm comfortable over here in the right corner, they're in the left corner, and then occasionally maybe we'll come out in the middle of the ring and, like, we'll spar a little bit, and, like, maybe somebody wins, you know what I mean? But, like, we're not thinking about the building that the ring is in. And that's, Earth, you know what I mean? Like, regardless, people are like, oh, that's real granola, Bob, whatever. They can put that negativity aside. We are not focusing on the one most important problem, is us as, like, a species. You know what I mean? Like, we forget that stuff. We don't think about that no more. We think about our cell phones. We think about the 4 shots. We think about all these different things that we want to happen in our lives. And I feel as if, like, the only way that it's ever going to happen, for me, like, in my mind, is as if, the old Messiah comes back, the new Messiah comes back, aliens come back, Independence Day, you know what I mean? Like, something that happened, like, when we all look up and we say, oh, man, we really are one together. And, like, look, I've said it before in the podcast, like, Independence Day, right? Everyone comes together. Aliens come. Everyone's like, oh, man, we got to rally together. We don't have enough of those moments in our lives where we all come together. And I feel as if we only come together when bad shit happens. Right. You know what I mean? Vegas happens. The shooting happens. The next day, we're in solidarity. Yeah. That we forget about it. Right. Like, the first one that, that we didn't have, like 9/11 for us was our generation's Pearl Harbor. It was shocking. It's still shocking, like, thinking about it, and, like, looking back into your mind of, like, what these visions were and stuff like that. And I just feel as if it's a shame that we only get together when negativity happens.
So the thing is that all of those are choices. Mm-hmm. We were not born to hate. Yeah. We were not born to kill one another. We were not born to be broke. We were born to be prosperous, to be loving, to be kind. And here's the thing, and I was saying this to someone the other day. When we become parents and our child is born, what is the first thing that we want to see? We want to see them smile. So we're going to do whatever it takes to make our child smile. We'll make funny faces. We'll make noises. So our entire purpose, no matter what's happened before becoming a parent, our entire purpose is to make our child happy. That's our goal. We want to raise a happy child, someone that's giggling and laughing. We tickle them. We act like little kids again. So we make them laugh, and we do puppet shows, and we play hide and go seek and peekaboo to see a smile on their face. But what happens? At what point do we stop trying to make our kids happy and we give into the negativity? So what if we took that principle of, and even our parents, what do you think our parents did? Our parents wanted us to be happy.
Yeah.
It's evolutionary. Every parent that becomes a parent, your initial goal is to just be enamored by your child. And, to see your child smile and to take pictures when they're smiling and to, be there for all of their accomplishments. The first time they roll over, the first time they push up, the first time they're cruising around and crawling and walking in their first word and, taking food off a spoon for the first time. Those are all victories. So couldn't we conceptually take those things and apply them to life where you live every day wanting people to be happy, making other people smile? Not playing peekaboo, so to speak, but as an adult playing peekaboo, leaving people better than where you found them. What happened where you were an adult, you were a parent, where you did everything you could to make your child happy, but then you get into the real world and you don't do those for others? What if what you did for kids, you did for everybody? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, yeah. I mean, I try to...
It spreads.
I'm highly susceptible towards other people's feelings. I could pick up like if someone's feeling down, like their energy just seeps right into me. I mean, I work in education, so, I mean, it works to my advantage with kids because I could totally just tell when someone really needs something or doesn't need it, or, vice versa. But it's hard when you feel these things towards others, but it's just like some people, like, the last part that I wanted to ask you is like, okay, so like, I feel as if some people are just blocked. In other words, their energy is just, like there's something, it could be something that happened to them. It could be something that, the anxiety, they're no longer willing to get over. For the people who are listening, who feel as if they're blocked and they can't get to this level of increased positivity, right, or like, what, for the people who feel as if they're stuck in concrete and their legs are just, they haven't gone nowhere in so long, how do they break that mold, escape, take off running down the block?
So there's three things, and these are things that I still practice every day because in a world full of negativity, you're pressed every single day to remain positive. It's just out there. So there's something that I do every day, and I write down in a journal, and I advise you can get any journal, any book, and you write three things that you're grateful for. Every day. And it's something, I have my son on a limited basis, which I'm grateful for. But when I do have him, I have him every Wednesday and the Thursday and every other weekend. Part of our bedtime ritual is bath, book, and then we tell each other three things that we're grateful for.
That's cool.
And I've been doing that with him since he was 2, since he can really talk.
Yeah.
So instilling in him the feeling of being grateful. And last night he said, I'm grateful for you, my fish. He's got 2 beta fish.
I got 2 too, yeah.
Wall Scratch and Buck.
Nice names.
Yeah.
Wall Scratch?
Wall Scratch.
Dig that.
Yeah, he's got...
Sounds like a good band name.
Yeah.
Wall Scratch.
Wall Scratch. And his stuffed animals. And I don't care if he says I'm grateful for my poop, my my Transformers, my dinosaurs. The act of practicing gratitude for what you have. It can be the clothes on your back, the food in your belly, the roof over your head. Practice gratitude every day. Get a journal and just write 3 things that you're grateful for. Now, for me, the second thing that you can do is besides being grateful, focusing on what you do have as opposed to what you don't have. So it's all about the thought process. Instead of saying, I wish there was more money in my account, be grateful and be thankful that there's anything in there at all.
That's a good point.
So it's all about how you look at something. So when you can reverse the thinking of how it is, obviously being grateful and thankful, they go hand in hand. You just feel better. That goes into an I am statement. So when you can do an I am statement, so I am powerful, a wonderful father, and someone who empowers other each day. So when you can write out an I am statement, you start to live into it. Because everyone has greatness inside of them. It's just your choice if you want to bring it out or not. And the third and most important thing, which is the most difficult one for people, is your circle of influence.
It's true. You brought that up at the beginning.
We can't choose our family. I love my family to death. They all have different personalities, and I love them for all of them. But who you learn from, who you grow with, who you're being influenced by, will either make you or break you. And if you're listening to this and you're not exactly happy where you are in your life and you feel stuck, you feel like you don't know where to start, write down on a piece of paper the 5 people that influence you most, or the 5 people that you're spending the most time with in your day. And take a look at those 5 names and write down next to each one of them an attribute of what they bring to your life. And I did this with a client, and I had her go through that. And she actually couldn't think of any attributes. I said, what's the common theme between those 5 people? She said they're negative, they talk about people behind their backs, they live in lack, and all they do is complain. So I said to her, what do you think's going to happen to you then? You're influenced by your environment.
That's a good point.
And there's great people out there. You just have to open your eyes just a little bit more, and they will show up. So you might say, well, Scott, I don't have that many friends. Then you know what? Start listening to podcasts.
Exactly, yeah.
Start reading books. Go on YouTube. Start watching Tony Robbins or Robin Sharma or Simon Sinek. Start getting influenced by the influencers. Because then when you start to shift your mindset, people will start getting attracted to what you're doing. And before you know it, maybe you're influencing other people.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So be mindful of who you're becoming and the life that you choose to live, because the best life is out there for every single one of us. It's your choice if you want to step into it or not.
Yeah, I love that. I love the whole idea too of like, that the 5 people and like how they like influence you, the ones that you're with the most and the ones that you don't. And I mean, I too have like, recently just realized that there's certain people in my life that have prohibited me, like they've held me back, and I'm not talking about like, putting a chain around me physically. It's
not
just,
intentionally.
Emotionally, like, or like them questioning my creativity, or them questioning, like, is he doing, is Bob lost his mind? Is he, yeah, I might have lost it, but you know what? I'm comfortable in that. And like, as I was able to accept that, I was able to become more free and be able to be more accepting of them too, in a way, because it's like, I understand what you're going through, but it's not quite my, it's not my tempo. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not there. I can't be that negative. I want to keep going, If you want to come with me, let's do it. You know what I mean? We can do this ride together, but like, the car's still moving for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not stuck. I want to keep going. And I find that to be so important. And I feel as if, it's like, it's hard because you don't want to like you do a really good job on Facebook and social media, like, letting people know these things. I feel as if, like, if they listen to the podcast and they get something out of it, that's my job. Like, it's good. If you can sit there for an hour and you can just, like, let your mind just go and be able to accept new ideas, and, or if it's, like, like us reviewing a movie or something, like pop culture, just to escape your regular day, to escape the pattern, like we said at the beginning. I feel as if those things are important. I feel as if, especially now, leading up into 2018, it's more important than ever, because we are just, like, like this controls, like, in our entire lives, like, it's so, like, it's hard. For me, I think that it's a way to connect. And I feel as if it's the same thing for you. You're connecting with people. You're feeling that urge to just make that connection, And it's not so much like, I want to see, like, who posted what of their baby or whatever. I just feel as if, for me, it's a great outlet because, the podcasting, the music, and it didn't exist when we were kids. You know what I mean? Some people do it well. I think that you're doing a fine job with what you do. I think that, I see people, they post stuff like, thank you, Scott, for doing this. Thank you. I achieved my goal. And you see, like, the before and after photos.
Right.
So that leads me, how, like, if somebody out there is listening and they're like, well, I'd like to learn more about Scott. I want to know, how do I get myself involved? How do I get on the program? How do I get myself like in a nutritional cleanse? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
where could they reach you? Like, what would be the best thing?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Scott Aaron. You can find me.
What if the person's out there like, I'm scared? I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I'm ready yet to commit to losing 60 plus pounds or something. You know what I mean? Like,
well, if you're getting ready to get ready, you can't expect anything to change.
boom.
I mean, it's and you know, the one thing, there's only one person that's ever going to hold you back from achieving or not achieving something in your life, and it's the person that looks back at you in the mirror. That's it.
Sure.
You can't blame your parents. You can't blame your friends. You can't blame your family or your spouse. When you can own your own stuff, and you have the innate ability with making new decisions each day to change the entire scope of your life. You know, we get one go at this, and I love what Gary Vee said. He calls it one at bat.
Yeah,
you get one at bat. That's it. There's no do-overs. There's no mulligans. You know, we can't go back in time. Honestly, Back to the Future was one of my favorite movies of all time.
So weird you say that, because we were just talking last night.
It's one movie that I can't turn off.
We're going to invite you back, because we're going to do a whole podcast on Back to the Future, the brilliance of it. I'm going to have a panel of people we've been talking about this. Like,
do you remember the World Series that when who was it?
The Cubbies. The Cubbies win over the Yankees, right?
No, it was actually supposed to be. It wasn't the Florida
Marlins.
The one that
it was
like the Miami Marlins.
They predicted it, there, right?
It was weird.
Weird,
it was
right?
something weird.
But there's so many parts of it. There's so many aspects of it too. That, like, you know, like there's so many great movies. For a screenplay writer, Back to the Future is one of the best.
They don't make movies like they did anymore.
And if they ever remake that, I will.
They can't. They can't.
I think there's actually a clause. Robert Zemeckis or something, like somebody said, like,
they were trying to. I think they were going to try to redo Goonies. Like, don't do that.
Well, I read it was going to be they do the thing where it's like the new cast and the old cast. Like, forget that stuff.
Let it be. Let it be a classic.
Let it be a classic.
And it's funny. My sister, she was asking me, what's the difference between a classic and a cult classic? Because she was asking me, are the Adventures? She goes, The Adventures of Babysitting. Is that a classic or a cult classic? And I'm like, that's definitely a cult classic.
It wasn't a box office smash.
No, like Forrest Gump was a classic.
Yeah.
Big Lebowski, cult classic. So there's a big
They don't
difference.
find the audience in the beginning. They find it later.
Later on.
And sometimes that
Outside Providence, still one of my favorite movies of all time, but a lot of people
great
have
movie.
not seen.
Great movie. I mean, the one we just talked about, episode 151, The Disaster Artist, based on The Room. I mean, like, talk about motivation. This guy uses his own money to go out, and Hollywood don't want us, we do it ourselves.
Yep.
He goes out, makes the movie. It's 14 years later. It's still playing midnight showings. People all around the world love it.
It's amazing.
Power positivity. You know what I mean? The guy owns it. You know, he's become this guy. But it just goes to show is that, like, you know, like, if you have a dream, go out and do it. And if your dream is so small as to, like, changing the way you go to work, do it tomorrow.
Yep.
Don't wait. Appreciate you coming on the show.
Absolutely, Bob. Good to see you, brother.
My name's Bob. This has been another episode of BobCast. Excellent. That was really good.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Dude, Back to the Future podcast, you're in?
Oh,
we gotta
totally.
do it. It's going to be good.